Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Smart HVAC Marketing Podcast. My name is Eric Thomas. Happy Friday to all of you out there listening to this right now, live. If you're listening to this in the future, it's probably a Tuesday or Thursday. So happy Tuesday or Thursday to you, because I'm not sure which day we'll release this episode just yet. But either way, today we're joined by Adrian Garcia from Reliable HVACR. Adrian, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. So, Adrian, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for our listeners out there and tell them a little bit more about what you do.
Sure thing. So I'm Adrian. I'm also known as Reliable HVACR over on Instagram and my YouTube channel. I basically do kitchen refrigeration and a little bit of HVAC. I'm a contractor in South Texas, and I work for a family business, which is Reliable Kitchen Services. Now that's my dad's company. I don't like to call myself an owner or anything, even though he does. It's me and him running the company. He does the hot side part of it, and I run the refrigeration side.
Nice. So, what inspired you to start the Instagram and the YouTube channel for Reliable HVACR?
Well, initially it did start to try and advertise for the company, but that wasn't going to really work for us because we don't really target the everyday person on social media. So because like a lot of the resident, because we only do commercial work strictly, so we don't do residential or anything else. A lot of the residential guys around here, they'll do like the billboards, Facebook ads, all the social media stuff, because they're targeting homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I tried it out and it wasn't working. So then I turned it around to do kind of like show our work and just get our name out there. And I just ran into this really cool HVAC community on there, and kind of got ideas from people. Try to motivate myself more because everybody's posting, their awesome work and stuff. And I kind of just rebranded as Reliable HVACR instead, just to have a name there. Not really to tell people to call us or anything like that.
Yeah. So I feel like it's really one of the most important things that like you can even do nowadays is just have a strong personal brand for your business and for yourself. Um, kind of over on the residential side, for example, we've had a podcast guest in the past named Derek Cole, and he I believe he's the general manager of a 1 hour franchise down in North Carolina, but he's got a really strong personal brand, and that kind of helps him kind of differentiate the entire business. So what's some of the content like that you post a lot of, or that you see, a good amount of engagement for on your personal brand?
Well, like I said, it's not really for picking up customers or anything like that. So it's more like when I started, I was looking for ideas, help, things like that. And then now it's turned around, and I actually do help younger techs in the business because I've been posting like our work before and after, things that we do, tips and tricks here and there, and they'll ask me like for advice on tools that they should get, uh, books that they should read, should they get into trade school, stuff like that. And it's just like a really cool community, especially on Instagram, to help each other out and stuff like that.
Yeah. So let's just answer some of those questions that you get kind of frequently, because I imagine that if some people have asked you, there's others out there who are probably asking the same thing. So what are some good books that someone can get to read about to learn more?
There's always this book that I recommend, Commercial Refrigeration for H or Air Conditioning Techs. I forget the author's name, but it's a book that if you already kind of know the basics and stuff, it gets you in the refrigeration
Hmm.
side of things, because that's what some of the guys were asking me. How do they get from residential like stuff to commercial refrigeration? Because they're looking to like expand their field and whatnot.
Yeah.
because that's preferably what I like to do, is refrigeration.
So did you go to trade school?
I went to college.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, initially I didn't know what I was gonna do because when I went to college, we didn't have the company yet. My dad started in 2007, and I was working at a Sam's Club at that time. Uh, so basically, he started the company as a kitchen repairs, and it was just him. I would help him over on the weekends and stuff like that, just as a helper. But I still had my normal job. And basically, he had mentioned that he wanted to be like an all-in-one company. That was like his vision, so that they didn't have to call like a separate company if a cooler went down or something like that. Because he worked on fryers, stoves, steamers, everything for cooking. But he knew nothing about HVAC. So he mentioned that to me, and I was looking into get into the trade.
Hmm.
A friend of mine actually mentioned that our local college was offering HVAC courses. So it's not one of those trade schools. It was an actual college, and it was a 2-year program to get like a degree and all that. So I majored in HVAC, and it being 2 years, it helped a lot because it's not like a crash course 6 months that a lot of the trade schools are.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like in class books. We had a cool like little hands-on area where we worked on walk-ins, split systems, and then little reach-ins, and they had a bunch of stuff that you could take apart. It was really cool.
Yeah. So what are some of the challenges that are facing your dad's company and some of the challenges that you see out there in the commercial side of the business?
Well, around here, and I know it's in a lot of areas. I even had some of my professors tell us the same thing. Like it's we're kind of like hurting each other as competitors sometimes because it's always about the lowest bid. Sometimes it's not about quality, and it's kind of sad that that happens. But being a family business and running it, or however you want to say it, there's going to be ups and downs. So we've had our ups and downs. A couple years ago, we got kind of slow. We had a big contract or account that we had lost, and we relied a little too heavily on it. We weren't branching out at the time, so that kind of hurt us. And as far as like the only good thing about being in the skilled trades is you're gonna find work, eventually.
Hmm.
And that's what people always gotta to keep in mind, that there's always going to be work, but there's always going to be ups and downs. So that's the only issue that we had. And at that time, that was like I said, the competition. We were getting outbid by all these like people that were going super cheap,
Hmm.
and eventually, you just hurt each other because it's hard to get work when someone will do it for half the price or something like that.
Yeah. So how do you communicate to existing customers and potential customers that it's not always, best to go with the cheapest option?
Now, we don't like to talk bad about anybody, right? So
Hmm.
we never go in there and just compare ourselves to somebody else or talk down on another company. So basically, the best thing is to let your work speak for itself, but you also have to have a good relationship with like the owners. Like for us, it's restaurants and stuff. So owners, area managers, you have to have a really good relationship with them, and communication. That's always key. So some of them like seeing like pictures or like getting a walkthrough of their equipment and how we can improve, their downtime with maintenance, the kind of work that we do, how we're professional or clean. We do the work right with quality. We don't
Hmm.
just give them the cheapest parts and, just make a mess of things. So
Yeah.
I would say like building relationships and communication.
Yeah. Awesome. So when it comes to like the kitchen side of refrigeration, um, this is, this is something we probably haven't, I don't think we've ever talked about really on here. We've talked about grocery store refrigeration and how like, how like if the freezers and the fridges and stuff in the grocery store go out, that's a huge liability on the contractor's part.
Yeah.
What are some of the other challenges from, from the trade standpoint, that you all, come in contact with, uh, in kitchens and restaurants?
It's similar, but it's like on a smaller scale, obviously. So now, uh, with any kind of refrigeration, whether it's like supermarkets or restaurant refrigeration, like the kitchen, their product, it costs a lot of money. So
Mm,
they want you there as soon as possible, and they don't want their equipment down for long.
yeah.
So like for us, freezers are and walk-ins in general are a major. They're emphasized a lot. So it's like I said, it's not as bad as supermarket refrigeration, but we are on call 24/7 just for things like that. We
Hmm.
used to have an account that worked. I mean, that was a 24-hour open restaurant, so we had calls in the middle of the night too and stuff like that. So it is always about their product. You got to put the customer first and just prioritize certain things.
Yeah. So during 2020, during the whole coronavirus thing, a lot of restaurants kind of went away from the in-person dining, and started going more into like the to-go orders or DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever. Did you all see a slowdown in your business, due to some of the effects of, the pandemic?
Uh, I want to say just at like right when it happened because nobody knew what was going on and what was going to happen. But a lot of we are fortunate enough to have nationwide accounts. So like we only work on them in our area, but they're big nationwide accounts. So they couldn't close. A lot of the places we have drive through or carry out. So it never really slowed down for us. Just maybe like a little bit at the beginning.
Hmm.
But like I tell anybody that's looking to get into the trade or ask me if it's a good trade, I'm like everybody's going to need refrigeration and everybody needs air conditioning. So
Yeah.
it's never going to just come to a stop at any point.
Yeah. And that's why like post pandemic, as some people are calling it, there's a lot of investment groups and like big companies out there that are just going around buying up HVAC companies and markets because because they know now, like, no matter what curveball the world seems to throw at us, HVAC contractors and refrigeration and stuff is always going to be needed. Um, is that something that you've seen in your market with, some of the other contractors?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a demand. They're always looking for good technicians. They're always hiring. So I always tell people that ask me about it. I'm like, yes, like there is a demand, and there's always going to be companies looking. Like you can get a job like like that,
Hmm.
and just get into it, whether it's HVAC or any other like skilled trade, because that stuff is always going to be highly demanded and a big need just in general.
Yeah, there's a huge demand for technicians right now, and I keep seeing companies out there like battling with each other to see who can offer the highest sign-on bonus.
Yeah, we've been seeing that too. A lot of people are hiring, and it's always hard to keep the techs too, because the techs will be. I mean, if you don't treat them right, they're going to be bouncing around too.
Yeah,
So that's another thing you have to make sure you as because like we're a family business, you gotta treat your employees good, make sure they're paid right, and just because if not, they'll look for their job and they will get one
yeah,
really fast.
yeah. And so other than good pay, what are some ways that, contractors can retain their technicians and workers?
Well, I try to leave that to my dad, but basically, we just try to have a good work environment for everybody. We are not going to punish anybody for anything, mistakes or anything like that. Mistakes are meant to happen. That's another thing I tell a lot of the young guys, like, don't worry about little mistakes here and there. Everything can be fixed.
Hmm.
So just a good work environment. Understanding if employees need like a day off or something like that, because it's also about your mental state too. I don't want my techs being burnt out or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
because we do work long hours some days. We do work over weekends, and we try to rotate our on call as often as we can. And I'll be out there a lot on the weekends helping out our on call techs.
Yeah. So shifting back over to your brand on Instagram and YouTube, um, what's you said earlier, like you found this really cool community, and that's something that I've even seen too on Instagram, and I feel like we've talked about this a little bit in past episodes about how the HVAC community on Instagram is pretty well. I mean, they play nicely with each other. It seems like everyone kind of gets along and is supporting each other and just giving out tips and stuff. So what's been, some of the response that you've gotten? Oh, we've lost Adrian. I don't know what happened there. All right. Well, I'm going to sit here and talk to you guys about some random stuff until Adrian gets back. There he is. All right.
For some
Adrian is
reason.
back. So yeah, so going back into the question, what are some of the things that you've seen as a response on Instagram?
Well, like yeah, on Instagram, from what I've heard, because I don't really do Facebook or stuff like that. I've heard there's worse platforms out there that I guess is full of older techs that don't want to give out free advice and stuff like that. But over on Instagram, it's totally different. You can go on there and look for help and actually find it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started, like I had no followers or anything, and I reached out to a lot of the bigger guys for little tips and stuff like that, because around here I didn't have anybody to lean on. Um, there's not a lot of senior techs that I know around here, and a lot of equipment that we're seeing is trickling down from up north, because we still have like old school walk-in boxes, and we're barely getting all the digital stuff and all the electric boards that are on the walk-in boxes and stuff like that. So I've reached out to them on Instagram, and they message back, pretty quick, and they will give you whatever advice they need to. Now, once I was on there long enough, I started getting questions too. So now I also try to help out where I can,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just cool. Like people will constantly post tips or things that they've seen, so that the next guy doesn't have problems with that stuff.
Yeah. We got a comment from Randy. He said, "What up?" Hey,
What's
Randy.
up, Randy? He's always on my YouTube channel there.
Oh, awesome. So over on the YouTube side, what's some of the content that you've put out that really resonated well with people?
Yeah, when I started my YouTube channel, I I mean I feel like I still don't know what I'm doing there, but basically I wanted to kind of document what I was doing like on Instagram, but in video format. So it was like kind of like a ride along type of deal, where I can go do calls and just record like what I was doing. And initially, like I never wanted to be like a how-to channel. I never wanted to be like Chris or Ernesto that does like the tips and how to do this or how to do that. And it was a little intimidating, because those guys, like, their knowledge is crazy. They'll tell you all the little facts about every little board, every little part, and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I was just doing like I said, a ride along. And as it went on, people were appreciating that I showed my mistakes and stuff like that. So, and I've always told people that it's as far as my channel, well, my Instagram too, it's like a day in the life of a real HVAC job and calls that I do.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna edit out everything and make myself look like I nailed it in a minute or whatever. Like I show my mistakes. That's what I guess people have liked the most out of it, and all the journey that I've gone through on my calls from day to day.
Yeah. They like the authenticity of it, kind of the realness.
Yeah,
That's something that so many people on social media just they don't do. They make the whole world try to believe that they're perfect and everything they do is perfect and they can do no
Yeah.
wrong. So that's cool, and I could see why that got a positive response.
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, there's been a couple of issues here and there, but it's been like 99% positive. Some people will call me out for like little things here and there, but it's not a big deal. And
Yeah.
most of my longtime viewers will just jump in there and start defending me and stuff. But I always tell them, like, I know I made mistakes, but here it is for you to watch, for you to learn. Don't do the mistakes that I did,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. So, if there was someone listening right now who was thinking about getting into the trade, and was maybe just looking for, some extra advice, what's something that you would tell them?
Well, first of all, don't be afraid to ask. And, you got to keep learning. So when I started, I hated calling technical support. I hated calling like any senior techs that I did know. Because when I started, I was really by myself. I was out of college, and we did have a couple of refrigeration guys, but they ended up leaving. So right away, I was by myself doing refrigeration calls, and like I said, I just hated asking for help, like in general. And you can't be afraid, like you can't be too prideful. You're not gonna know everything, and just it's okay to ask questions, and also just keep learning because like I think that's what got me through a lot of the rough years early on is I would look up manuals. There wasn't too much on YouTube or Instagram back then, but I would just if I could find anything online, I would look up, like I said, manuals, literature on different things, and try and like soak in as much as I could, just so I could be prepared the next time I had issues or the next time I had a call or something that I wasn't familiar with.
Nice. So, Adrian, before we wrap up here, is there anything that I may have missed or anything that you wanted to talk about that we haven't covered yet?
I don't think so. Um, we talked about our business and our Instagram. I think that was pretty good.
Awesome. So what's some ways that people listening to this can get in touch with you and follow along with your content?
Well, I try to be on every platform. So I do have a Facebook, even though like it's kind of the same content on my Instagram. So if you look for me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, you're just gonna search Reliable HVACR. I will be there. I try to answer every message that I get. I like to be available for people that need help or that just want to reach out for things. So it's easy to get in contact with me. And I think I have my email listed on my YouTube too.
Okay, awesome. Cool. Well, that we'll put a link to that in the show notes for anyone listening that would be interested in following along and learning more. Adrian, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to join me on the podcast, man.
Yeah, I actually got to go back to work after this, but it's been a
Awesome.
pleasure and it was great being on here.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a good weekend.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.